What would happen if the USA never won World War II? The almighty United States of America getting defeated in the Second World War? Sounds pretty nonsensical, right? Well, not on this channel. We all know that the United States of America won the Second World War against the Axis forces. And although that might seem like the most obvious outcome, what if they never did? Let's take a dive down memory lane and try to find some logical and reasonable answers to the most intriguing questions that come to mind. Shall we? Starting off with the most important question: what caused the Second World War? What would have happened to the US in such a scenario? And what impact would it have on us today? Could Adolf Hitler become the new leader of the world? Before we try to figure out how differently the war could have gone down and the outcomes of those changes, let's take a look at how it all actually started off. And for that, we need to go all the way back to 1919. Wait, 1919? Aren't we a little early? The war's scheduled to start 20 years from now. Does this mean I'm stuck here until 1939? Send me back! Send me back! Relax, buddy. This is where everything actually started. You see, around this time, Allied forces made Germany sign the Treaty of Versailles, which was supposed to be a peace treaty, and its purpose was to end the state of war between Germany and the Allied forces. But although it did stop the First World War and establish peace for the time being, this very treaty also ended up being one of the most important factors behind the Second World War. The Germans were actually extremely bitter and resentful about this treaty from the very beginning, because they had to basically take the blame for everything that happened and had to pay some enormous war reparations too. And on top of that, they weren't even included in the League of Nations that was formed after this treaty, so this treaty felt like an insult on injury to them. In the years following the treaty, many of the German population started believing that they were betrayed by their leaders who signed it. What a crisis, right? With the German population filled with worries, anger, and betrayal, Adolf Hitler started gaining popularity amongst the people, as he promised to take revenge for the humiliation that the Germans faced. And with the onset of the Great Depression in 1929, the economic instability further weakened the already unstable government and paved way for Hitler to take over and come to power as the Chancellor of Germany in 1933. After coming to power, Hitler swiftly declared himself as the supreme leader of Germany and proceeded to pursue his dream of establishing the Germans as the most superior race and taking over Europe, starting off by secretly rearming themselves and breaking the Treaty of Versailles. He then went on to invade Austria and Czechoslovakia without any consequences, and it was starting to look like nobody was going to stop him from achieving his dream. Well, that's until he signed a pact with Stalin and conquered Poland along with the Soviet Union. France and Britain had declared war on Germany 2 days after. And what caused this decision, you might ask? France and Britain had just lost guaranteed military support to Poland in case of a German invasion. This unwanted alliance between Hitler and Poland marked the start of the Second World War. Interesting. Now that we're all caught up on how it started, can you please send me back? Anyways, let's move on to the repercussions related to this change in history's timeline. If the Nazis did somehow manage to win the Second World War, would they have gone on to conquer the United States along with their ally, Imperial Japan? After all, who wouldn't want control over such a vast and prosperous country, right? Well, they surely would have wanted to. But we also have to keep in mind that the US entered the war at a much later time, when the Axis forces had already gone through a huge chunk of their resources. And the US doesn't share a border with any of the Axis countries either. So the chances of Germany trying to invade the US were pretty much negligible. But that doesn't mean that the Nazis would have let them off the hook that easily either. The Nazis would have made the United States sign a treaty with them instead, something similar to the Treaty of Versailles, which would have forced the US to hand over its overseas territories to the Axis powers, and pay some gigantic war reparations to them as well. With the USA out of the way, the Nazis would then turn their focus on setting up their empire like they always dreamed. And in order to do so, they would have taken over most of the countries in the western part of Europe for themselves, and set up concentration camps on the eastern side of Europe. Today, Western Europe is known all around the planet for their globally loved cuisines and their world-renowned fashion industry. But with the Nazis in charge, none of these sectors would have gained much popularity, as things like arts, entertainment, or culture meant very little to them. So the Western influence that helped modernize a lot of Southeast Asian countries such as India, Malaysia, and Singapore would have been non-existent. And without this Western influence, their societies would have still remained a lot more orthodox and conservative. Other sectors such as science and technology would have taken a massive hit as well. Because even though the Nazis did focus on innovation and engineering, they also got rid of hundreds of scientists because of their beliefs or their ethnicity. So the only advancements that would have come out of Europe would be the ones achieved by the German scientists. With the Nazis in charge and the war over, humanity would be at peace temporarily. But one thing is certain, this will not be the last war. Very soon, the whole world is going to turn against them, leading to World War III. Perhaps humanity's biggest battle, which could lead to our extinction. But that's a topic for another video.